Luke, I got to ask you about something that's been bothering me since December of last year. I've got to ask Coach whether or not this has affected things in the program now that he's at the top of it. I don't know if people remember, but Dakota Kremens was able to interview you during our Stag Bowl pregame show on D3Football.com, and we'll show a little clip here.
Okay. Do you like music?
I do, kind of.
Do you have a guilty pleasure song?
I wouldn't say I have a certain song. What I'd say guilty pleasure is I sometimes listen to Glee music, the TV show.
What's your favorite song? Can you give us a little bit?
No, I cannot.
Luke, Glee music. I'm concerned here. You know, you're another year older. You put on a little bit of muscle mass, from what I can tell, compared to last year. So you're focused on what's up here. But tell me about this Glee music love that you have, and how has it affected the team? Has it been added to the playlists at all in the weight room? Give us the full, view of what's going on there.
It definitely has not been added to the playlist. I think it was more like a freshman, sophomore year of high school thing. My friends got me to watch the show. And I don't know, I just liked how they sang different versions of the songs. And I also definitely think I panicked when Dakota asked me because I couldn't think of anything else. But I was like, I did used to listen to that a lot.
It's perfect.
So I thought it was funny stuff. But yeah.
Coach, he also wanted, I think the world record he wanted to break was something about the longest trampoline jumping, tumbling, something along those lines. Are you okay with him trying to break that record during season, or have you told him that he cannot be on any trampolines and do somersaults and all that stuff?
There's probably some boundaries we should have there. And if he's going to do it, make sure those nets are up.
Okay, that's words to live by right there and everything. I didn't see that coming when we did this. But anyway, listen, guys, I look forward to maybe seeing you in the next version of this video that we do this year, Luke. You really are a trailblazer because we didn't know what we were getting into when we did that video. It was the best thing we've ever done with D3Football.com, in my estimation, thanks to you, Luke, and some of your great answers. And we'll give Kyle King and company some credit for that as well. But any regrets on that video? Did you get any fallout from teammates, anything, once we played that 82 times on Twitter and everything else?
I don't think much of the team said anything, but I know Dakota definitely gave me some crap about it when he asked me what I would bring for show and tell, and I said long division, if you guys remember that. That was also a panic. But I would like
division answer.
I'd like to change my answer. So I have a virtual reality headset, and that's what I would bring.
Okay.
That could be fun. So that's a little bit
That's cool.
better than long division, I would say.
Luke, you do realize it still makes you a geek, okay? That didn't change that.
I'm okay with that. I'd rather be a geek for VR than long division.
Well, regardless, we're going to hear a lot more from you and from Coach on this episode of Season 15 of In the Huddle. I'm just disappointed that long division is no longer the show and tell project for Luke Lehnen. What do you think?
That was pretty funny, and the way he just, he took it like a champ. He got a little messed around with by his teammates there, but he was still a freshman. No longer he's the quarterback and leader of that team. Only a sophomore, but come a long way.
We'll talk more with him in the show. By the way, we're no longer in Orlando, in case you couldn't tell. City Beautiful has led to the city that doesn't sleep.
That's right.
New York
Central
City.
Park.
Behind us is Central Park South, 59th Street, for those that extend past it. We are in Central Park here tonight. You came up, I came down from upstate New York. We said, let's do our Regions 4, 5, and 6 show in the grandest style possible in New York City, outside.
The Big Apple, baby.
Amen. Forget about it.
Hey.
But we wanted to kind of move a little fast in this show because we do have quite a few conferences to predict, a lot of guests that we have interviews with. I mean, a lot to go on here. For those that are wondering, on Thursday we're discussing maybe doing a kind of a live whip-around show for the Thursday opening night games. Friday, I might be making an appearance at a game that we won't tell you about yet, but we will go Twitter predictions coming up. I guess that was kind of a hint right there. Was that?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No.
And then Saturday, we may have a little bit of a game day live somewhere as well. So stay tuned for all that information. We will be definitely updating you. We're not going to just sit still during opening weekend.
No way, man. I mean, technically, we're officially recording this 8 days, well, not even, like a week away from the actual beginning of the season.
6 days.
Yeah, 6. We're here we go, man. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. Let's start with Region 4, and first the MIAA, which was won in 2021 by Hope. And, after the beating their coach took in the sideline video that...
I was trying.
Well, that's who I'm picking.
What?
Yes, I'm picking trying to win the MIAA.
Coming out swinging with some upset picks.
And Albion is my team to watch. You are picking the reverse order, actually. Albion is the team you think will win. Trine is the team to watch. Why Albion, though, for you?
I think a combination of their spring and fall season. The Brits have a pretty solid offense and just a good. I think their program's on the way up. So why not cause a little upset pick there? And even though Hope looks almost exactly like Hobart, my alma mater, with the orange helmets and everything, I'm going to go with a little curveball. Go Brits.
One of the rare occasions, I think, in this entire slew of shows where we do not have the team that won it the previous year anywhere in the list. It happens at least one other time that I can think of. So there is the MIAA. What we will look forward to is a high-powered offensive set, I think, throughout that conference, which makes it very unpredictable year to year, especially now. So, take us for a grain of salt at this point with this whole set of picks for the MIAA.
Yeah.
With the NCAC, DePaul won it last year and did decent in their opening round game. They stayed in it for a decent amount of time.
They beat Rose Holman, I believe.
Excuse me, in the second round.
And they get to play each other in week 1, so we got a playoff rematch in week 1. More on that later.
Yeah, let me correct myself. He's right. Go figure.
First time for everything.
But I'm going to pick DePaul again to win the NCAC, and Wabash is my team to watch. And this is interesting because we know that Wabash early season plays this team called North Central. More on them in a little while.
Yeah,
but you pick Wittenberg to win it, and Denison as the team to watch. So why Wittenberg? Because that's a team that kind of has fallen out of the spotlight in the NCAC, but they've always been a strong team, we know. Mm-hmm. Why Wittenberg this go-around?
Yeah, I mean, this might be a bit of a flyer, but I think the fact that they've been scheduling some, East Region teams, kind of spreading out, getting into some different parts of the country, maybe that'll pay some dividends. I know the NCAC didn't really get to experience spring football as much as some of the other conferences, but I don't know. Just maybe call it a hunch. Maybe I'll be dead wrong. We'll see.
Well, there is the NCAC. The HCAC, which we just were talking about, Rose Holman, a team that has become a bit of a perennial. They've stuck around at least from their first playoff appearance before COVID. Franklin is my pick to win it. Hanover is my team to watch, which is a team that in the spring 2021 was a team really that did better than most people would have expected.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you have Rose Holman in Hanover in that order.
Yeah.
So you believe there will be a repeat in the HCAC.
Seems like it, yeah. That's wow, we actually agreed on something.
Well, I said Franklin. Hold on.
You said Franklin? Okay. Well, then, of course,
Hanover we agreed with.
Yeah, yep. They had been kind of the team to beat in the HCAC for a while there. But, yeah, Rose Holman's come on strong. They have a very solid run game, tough defense. Right now, they seem to be the right pick. We'll see what happens.
Rounding out Region 4, there's only 4 conferences in Region 4, which is an interesting situation, as is the case in Region 5. the OAC. But before we jump into our picks in the OAC, you know, every so often I will name a name that we should go interview, and you know, we take a chance because we don't know what we'll get all the time, and sometimes you're really impressed by my picks. This go around, you picked somebody that I didn't really know much about, John Murray Jr., running back, Baldwin Wallace.
Yep.
And he's coming back for his basically 6th year, you know, throw COVID and injuries,
or whatever you want to call it, yeah.
So he's you know, had a lot of hardship along the way, including the hardship that everybody faced pretty much across the board. But boy, what a story, what a leader he is for Baldwin Wallace. And we saw last year something that, you know, with John Carroll in that game, just how close it was, how close they were to really turning a corner and getting into the OAC, you know, let's say playoff spot that you often think there's going to be 2 playoff spots almost automatically for the OAC as long as everybody has one loss in the conference situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they did not get there, and they are determined to get there this go around. So here is John Murray Jr. John, this preseason set of shows we're doing are really based on unfinished business and second chances, and I think you're a perfect fit for this show for a number of reasons. Let's first talk about 2021. Your team basically held Mount Union at bay in the game that you played against them until some late touchdowns by the Mount. And you still had a chance to make the playoffs, but that very close end-of-season game obviously bit you and your team. But you know, is this the year? Is this the year for Baldwin Wallace? Is there unfinished business as far as you and your team go? Take us through the end of last year to now and how this team is feeling.
I definitely think, you know, after us, you know, losing to the team from University Heights, you know, being up about 18 points in the fourth quarter and losing that game, I definitely do think that we have a chip on our shoulder, and I think this year that we will overcome that obstacle. And then, you know, we got Mount Union at the end of the year, which I think is definitely a winnable game, like, you know, always. So,
John, for your individual efforts, you got recognized as a first-team All-OAC running back, also an All-Region player for Region 4. Going into this preseason, the coaches poll looks like it just came out. You guys were ranked second in the OAC with one first-place vote, though. So there's somebody out there who thinks you guys can win the championship. What is it going to take for Baldwin Wallace to take that next step and make that move into the playoffs?
I think for us to take that next step, I mean, everybody has to continue to like buy in and stuff like that. You know, we've had multiple OCs over the past years. And like also, I think we have young talent. I was just telling some of the receivers during camp that this receiving core reminds me of so much of 2018's receiving core that, you know, I have extreme confidence in these guys. And, you know, and I have extreme confidence in Coach Orts, which is our new OC as well.
John, 2017 was your first year technically at Baldwin Wallace. You missed the season due to injury. So if I do the math here, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, technically with COVID, your injury, this is 6 years at Baldwin Wallace. You don't have to do this. You don't have to prove anything to anyone realistically. And we've said this to other players before that have chosen to come back with the COVID year and eligibility and all that. But why you personally? Why are you coming back to do this one more time?
So like, to be honest, after that loss after that loss from the team from University Heights, it was definitely a sour taste in my mouth after that game. And like with me knowing I had an extra season as well, it's like I didn't get to go out on my shield, right? So I'm just coming back to finish some business. I have to, you know, take down both of those teams, and like that's my whole motivation for this season. I'm in grad school as well, so yeah.
That's great. Well, you mentioned the new offensive coordinator. Without giving away any company secrets, are there any new wrinkles that some Baldwin Wallace fans and OAC fans might see that's a little bit different from the offenses of years past?
Just know it'll it'll be a real exciting offense. The greatest show on turf. That's my mindset with it.
He's not giving away the company secrets for sure there. He's just giving us a little bit of a tease. That's about it. Appreciate that, though, and I'm sure your coaches do, too. So I love the fact that you call them the team from University Heights. It's not being lost on us as we have this discussion, and so we won't name the team either, but let's look at the entirety of the OAC, because you've been around long enough to know now that there's obviously the top of the crop that's perennially there, and everybody's asking the question, how do you beat this team? Is this team beatable? As time goes along, everybody thinks that they're going to fade away. They don't. How important or how big would it be if Baldwin Wallace was finally able to do it this season and take down the Mount, especially with the positioning of that schedule, as you pointed out this year?
I think it'll be extremely important, just get that yellow jacket, like atmosphere back, from, and you hear stories about the 80s and the 90s when like BW were at the top of the OAC, and I think this team can definitely do it. I mean, I have extreme confidence in everybody around me on offense, defense, special teams as well. So I do think if we were to beat them, like it would just be a dream come true for all of us, I think.
Well, John, and this is obviously not in any player or coach's control, but it has its good and bad points, right? So I'm looking at your schedule here. 3 road games to open up the season. You guys are at Mount St. Joseph on 1:30. I think you're originally from Cincinnati, right? So that's kind of a home game for you.
Yeah, it is.
But the nice thing is the back half of your schedule. That's 1, 2, 3. 4 home games in the back half. So looks like you guys are going to have to be a little bit of road warriors this year. What do you think are some of the positives and negatives of having a lot of these road games for just whatever reason?
I think some of the positives for sure. It's like definitely helping the team mesh together. I know last season when we took the trip down to Heaven and Sydney, I think that was the closest that I've probably ever been with the team, and that was just basically off of that trip right there. We had left on I think Wednesday or Thursday. Stayed in 2 or 3 hotels. We were just doing a whole bunch of activities together. So I think having those road games, like you just you just get away from football. Granted it is a business trip, but you can get away from football. And just like relax and enjoy our time together. I think the negative of it really would be just getting a big head, because I mean the first 2 matchups, they're not, really like top tier. So I think us just being on the road and just being away from home, I just feel like that could be like a backlash from that. We just thinking that we're just like hot stuff, and then week 4 when we're finally at home, we get hit in the mouth. So I think just keeping us grounded, right? That those 3 weeks, I'm sorry, to be prepared for the home opener versus ONU. So.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting for sure with that schedule stacked the way it is. And I know a lot of teams try to avoid, too many home games, too many away games up front. Sometimes they don't have the opportunity to choose in that respect. I get that fully. But, it's if you're road warriors enough, hey, then you're going to have home cooking for a little while this season. So we'll see how this lands for you and your team. John, you said you're in grad school. What is the future after this? Go at the gridiron and everything else here. What is your future going to be? Is football going to be part of it in any way, shape, or form with all the new leagues out there? Because you are a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure on the ground. What is the future for you?
So for me, I would definitely love to get an opportunity to play in a league. After this, I think I can definitely do it. I think I still have the skill set and the talent to do so. And though, even if football doesn't work out, I do want to become an athletic director and, help out, kids get to the, D3, D2, D1, etc., just because I come from the inner city. So I think being able to go back and give back to those kids would be amazing, because I know football was my way out. So I would want to do that for, other student athletes with multiple sports.
just to follow up, how proud is your family of what you've been able to accomplish? Because the backstory is pretty much that this is pretty special for you to achieve what you've gotten to here with Baldwin Wallace and everything that's going to come forward from here. How important has this been for your family in terms of your journey?
My mom and dad, are like extremely supportive, and they text me all the time, just talking about how they're like proud of me on the field and off the field. Just me being from Cincinnati and coming up here to Cleveland, Ohio, just having to adapt and like adjust, and like really just become a man. Up here, I'm 23 years old now. I left home when I was 18. I haven't looked back. So just them, just like always encouraging me and stuff like that. I think is shows me their support and their like appreciation for me. So.
Well, John, speaking of appreciation, we have a little tradition that we've been doing for 15 seasons now, particularly for the student athlete guests on the show. And thank you for joining us. And we look forward to following the Yellow Jackets this season. But John, this is your opportunity. That you have the floor to put forth any shout outs to fellow players, former teammates, parents, uncles, aunts, whoever you got. The floor is yours. John Murray Jr. from Baldwin Wallace. Thank you.
I would definitely like to shout out, my family, like who I just spoke on. Their like support and stuff like that has been amazing over these 5 or 6 years I've been up here in Cleveland. Shout out to Coach Hilver, the whole coaching staff. For taking a chance on me. I played 1 year high school football, man, and like the whole coaching staff brought me in with open arms, and I've never looked back as far as like wanting to go anywhere else or anything like that. So I definitely appreciate them. Appreciate the offensive line always. Like those guys do all the heavy lifting. I just run, right. Appreciate everybody in the BW community as far as teachers, the president, custodians, everybody, because without everybody's effort, I think like us as Yellow Jackets, as far as the football team, like we weren't like have the success that we've had, because it's the small things, right? People are going to pick up the food for us and stuff like that, and doing laundry, just et cetera, et cetera. So I just really big shout out to everybody, man, because everybody plays a part, in helping us out.
So, okay, John Murray Jr.
Great story. What
absolutely.
A great guy. Was one of those things, like you said, I wasn't really, sure like who to pick from Baldwin Wallace. I felt that the way their season ended last year, definitely fit our theme of unfinished business, because to basically have that big lead, if they won that game against John Carroll, they were definitely going to be a Pool C team, 9-1 out of the OAC. Really tough way to go out, and so it makes sense that guys like John and some of the other fifth-year seniors are coming back. This Yellow Jacket team feels like they have a shot.
Why not?
Yeah.
This is the interesting thing. I pick Mount Union to win. I pick Baldwin Wallace as the team to watch. You pick Mount Union to win. John Carroll is the team to watch, which is kind of fitting here. Mm-hmm. The team in University Heights, I guess, is what we should say.
The team from University Heights. Right.
Yes. But
Cleveland rocks.
But something? I learned a little bit, I think, about Mount Union in that 2-game set, the Muhlenberg game, and then the North Central game last year in the playoffs. That I don't know. I feel like in any other year in the past 2 decades, they easily win those games, or at least don't have 2 games in a row where they struggle and or lose.
Yeah, they were nail biters, man.
They really were. You had an overtime game versus Muhlenberg in quarterfinals. You had what really ended up not being a nail biter after halftime, the NCC game. But I'll tell you, JB, if there's a year for one of the OAC teams to beat Mount Union, and I know I'm going to be getting a lot of hate mail for this one, this is probably the year for it to happen. I don't know. We'll find out. Braxton Plunk comes back, obviously, with his receiving core and everything else, and the defense is still prime, but it feels like they're coming up along from the backside right now.
I agree with you, but there's also, I saw there were at least 2, if not more, voters of the D3Football.com national poll that picked them number 1. So there are some people out there that feel like Mount Union is the best team coming back, even though the Crusaders from UMHB won the national championship. Plunk is probably a big reason for that. He's an excellent quarterback, he's undersized.
Former guest.
Yeah, former guest on the show.
Probably never again after I just did that.
Yeah, Tampa product from Plant High School. golden arm. He's got a great receiving core, great team. So you never know with the Raiders. I mean, they're always in it. So we'll see what happens.
Let's go to the NACC in Region 5 up next here. And Aurora won it last year, but you lose an all-everything quarterback to graduation.
Yep.
Gavin Zimbelman. And what do you expect from that team? Well, you expect them still to win. You pick St. Norbert as a team to watch. I pick it in reverse again. St. Norbert is the team that might win this, and Aurora as the team to watch.
Yep.
I just think that losing that quarterback is going to give them an off year here. You have enough confidence that they stay atop, though.
Yeah, I just think Coach Beebe has been pretty consistent, and they've shown the ability to kind of recruit and reload. They've been to the playoffs. That obviously raises the profile of the program. Having a former NFL head coach, player, now head coach, certainly helps from a recruiting standpoint. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so the NACC goes that way. How about the Midwest Conference, the MWC? Lake Forest won last year with that 10-0 record, and they were given that great gift of playing St. John's right off the bat. Thanks to the committee for that one.
Yeah, that's a great way to treat the former committee chair. Here you go.
Well, you know what else is a good way to treat the former committee chair? By not picking his team, JB. You picked Chicago to win and Ripon as the team to watch.
Yeah. I mean, Chicago's got that. He's a first-team preseason All-American running back. I mean, I think he led the nation in rushing yards. It is tough to run it back. Coach Cat, I'm sure, has the players to do it, but I don't know, for some reason it feels like maybe with a second chance, unfinished business, Chicago might be the team this year.
Cat, don't worry, I got you. You're winning this conference this year. Midwest Conference goes to Lake Forest. In my estimation, Chicago is the team to watch. I still think, as you're pointing out, that they are still going to be a strong team. The Maroons will be one to watch indeed.
Hey, JB, I heard we're not the team you want to watch this year. I guess over the last 3 seasons, you spent enough time covering Lake Forest. I think you got some pretty good hot takes over there looking at the University of Chicago and Ripon. I think they're both going to be improved teams. But don't forget about us.
Let's go to the CCIW, and we'll have another conversation this time. And we're going to have a coach and a player. This is Brad Spencer, the new head coach for North Central after Jeff Thorne moved on to Western Michigan as an assistant coach. And I think preparing to face his son, Peyton.
Yeah, week 1.
Yeah, in week 1. So that's an interesting family story coming up there.
Yeah.
We'll stay out of that, and we'll tell you instead about this family. Luke Lehnen and Coach Spencer talked to us. I especially pay attention to the question I asked about pressure with respect to the tradition now that is NCC football. Luke, Coach, our preseason shows are really centered around unfinished business and second chances, and what better grouping right now than your team, really. Luke, I'm going to start with you. Things were flying along last season. You as a freshman quarterback were having a great season. Then the buzzsaw that was Mary Hardin-Baylor came along in the championship game, and now you kind of sit here with that taste in your mouth and a new season upon us. Is there unfinished business for your team, for you, coming up this 2022 season?
I would say there definitely is some unfinished business. After the game last year, I mean, everybody knows how it went, but that's definitely not a way I wanted to send those seniors out. So I know this upcoming year we got a lot of fifth-year guys coming back, and I definitely don't want to send them out the same way. So I'm hoping for a different result this year.
Coach, you're an alum of North Central. You've been a long-time coach, prior offensive coordinator. Now as the head coach, how have things changed a little bit? I know you have Coach Studeman going to be taking over the offense, but what's been some of the transition that taking over as head coach since the off season?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of little changes becoming the head coach. From the day to day to the global, perspective. I was actually just on the phone with the University of Chicago's head coach, and he's in his first year there, and we kind of joke that we're both going through it together, but at the same time, it's a little different for me since it's the 19th year that I've been at North Central. Personally, I love it. It gives me an opportunity to, mentor and have relationship with everybody on the team, not just the offense or the position group that I'm working with. So that's been a great transition for me. It's something that I think is a strength for me in being able to, have my door open and make relationships with everybody. I'm very fortunate that our coaching staff has stayed together. Coach Studeman running our offense, Coach Durking running our defense, Coach Wood running our special teams. So the day-to-day is pretty consistent for us. There's a lot of continuity and continuation. And then for the kids, it's just trying to give them the same great experience that they've had. And if there's little ways here and there that, I have to put my touch on it because that's what works for me better than we do it. But I've been fortunate to be a part of this for 19 years and worked for two great head coaches that have really paved the way for all of us that are still here. Now it's our job to, hold up that tradition, keep playing the same great football that we've played and, hopefully try and, keep forging, the North Central College football name forward with all the great programs that we're competing with who have, had the success that they've had for the last 10, 15, 20 years.
And I guess this is a little tongue in cheek, and this can go to either one of you guys. But and you were busy playing in the playoffs. But Frank and I had a little, we did like a live broadcast show, watching, dropping in, watching the game. So we had Coach Donaldson from Heidelberg, and it was great having an actual coach on the show with us because he was like, "Oh, there's a power play. They're calling another power run there." I mean, obviously, for fans that know North Central, they know the power run is a big part of your offensive strategy. Is that going to change at all a little bit, or are you guys sticking with what works going forward?
Yeah, I think every single week you change a little bit depending on what the team across the field from you is doing. It's no secret that we've got the majority of our offensive line back. We have our running backs back, and we had a lot of success last year running the football. And having a quarterback that can run the football as well was a little bit of a shift for us. Brock Rudder being our quarterback for 4 years, he was a different type of animal on the field than Luke is. So, we were able to open up our playbook a little bit more last year. And, I'd be lying if I didn't say we're going to continue to do that, continue to build on those strengths. Sometimes the best thing you can do is build on the strengths that you have and really try and keep developing, those players and those schemes. You never want to ask your players to do something they can't do. It's the number one rule of coaching is ask guys to do things they can do, and that's play to their strengths. But, Luke's ability to throw the ball downfield, his ability to run the ball, I think it matches up great with our running game.
Luke, Coach talked about Brock Rudder, somebody that graduated off, but I want to talk about somebody else that graduated off and his profound effect, I believe, on you, but I want you to put it in your words, and obviously I'm talking about Andrew Kaminsky, wide receiver, who is off trying to sow his possibilities in pro football, obviously. We're wishing him well, as I interviewed him in the off season, but not having him out there this year, how different is it going to feel? How different will it feel, I should say, without him out there? And what was the effect he had on you in your freshman season at North Central, in your own words?
It'll definitely feel a little bit different because obviously he was really experienced, he was really good, and it was always nice knowing that you have somebody out there that's always knowing what they're doing. You don't need to remind them, hey, do this. And then he was sometimes coaching me. Just like with different pass plays and stuff that we had. And he was also like a mentor to me. Really taught me how to be a good leader. Just from observation and from conversations that we had, taught me how to watch film from time to time. We watched together. Just like big stuff like that is really what stuck with me from Andrew's time here. And he's been able to help with us a little bit this fall camp, like when he has time. So, he'll be helping out our new receivers coming in, and we have D'Angelo Hardy that's been here 2 years with Drew, 3 years because of COVID. But a lot of the guys coming in have learned from Drew in the previous year, so he's really had a good effect on our players here.
Well, you guys technically don't get started until week 2. You're traveling to Wabash, another great Division III program. You're on the road, it seems, the first couple of weeks of your season. You don't have a home game until the end of September. Now that you guys have started classes back up, the preseason is sort of over. Is it still time? Is there still a little preseason stuff happening as school kicks off, or is it okay? We're game planning for Wabash, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of both. We have a scrimmage coming up, so right now we're still kind of focusing on us and putting players out there to evaluate them. But at the same time, as a coaching staff, you're looking to that week 1 game and starting to develop game plans and how you want to practice different schemes. So it's a little bit of both. But yeah, I broke camp last night. So the all-day meetings and things like that for our players are over for now, except for the weekends, so that they can get to class and everything. But as a program, you're always into something and you're still working on the next thing, and so that's a little bit of where we're at. Certainly, still trying to figure out some depth at positions, and even figure out some starters at positions as well. You want to keep the competitive juices flowing, so to speak. So we're still creating opportunities in practice for guys to, go live and make plays and see what they can do, especially the young ones. Our older players, we kind of have an idea of where they're at, how they're going to perform, what they can do. But you still want to give some of the younger players an opportunity to show themselves before we get into, week 1 at Wabash, who's an excellent opponent. We feel like it's a playoff level game. It's going to be a great atmosphere. We're excited for the trip. It's good to get our guys on the road and get them together and get them used to that type of, schedule. Leaving campus and traveling, staying overnight, staying in hotels, that sort of thing. But, our older guys are pretty accustomed to that with, the last 2 playoff runs we've had. But we're looking forward to it. And Wabash is certainly a top program. They have a great history in athletics, not only football. It's a great institution. They have a new facility they built a year or 2 ago. So we're really looking forward to that opportunity.
And the rumor is they always fight, as their slogan goes. So you're going to learn it firsthand on the field. I want to ask you both, and we'll start with Luke, and Coach, after he's done, go ahead and take your shot at the answer. Another missing component is obviously Coach Thorne at the helm, and when it comes down to it, Brock Rutter, Andrew, Coach Thorne were all kind of a crux of the national championship scenario in 2019. Is there a pressure, do you feel at all here, that they have established this new benchmark of winning a national championship, and anything short of it at North Central now is going to be not necessarily a disappointment, but just something a level down? Do you feel this pressure to perform and to lead this team in a way that it's all the way national championship? And does that at all perhaps maybe get away from that game-by-game focus that a lot of coaches preach day in and day out on this show as much as anywhere? Go ahead, Luke, first.
I would say there's really no pressure for us. I mean, Coach Spencer said at the beginning of camp to the leaders of this team, he said, pressure is self-inflicted. So, I mean, others can't put pressure on you, like the media or the fans or other colleges. They can't put pressure on you to win the national championship. That is like our standard here. So, I mean, the only pressure that we would have is if we make ourselves have pressure for it. So I personally don't think there's any pressure. We're just going to take it week by week and hopefully end up in the national championship and hopefully be on the winning side this year.
Yeah, and to add to what Luke said, I mean, John Thorne, I think, got us to a certain level. And, then when Jeff took over as the head coach, we were able to, kind of take another step. And, certainly I like to, joke that the room at the top of the ceiling is not very big, having been to the last 2 national championships. In a lot of ways, like Luke said, that's become the standard of the expectation. But at the same time, I think if you're focusing on the controllables, you're focusing on yourself, you're focusing on what you're doing day to day, and not focusing on the result, then, things will fall into place. There's a lot of, external factors that go into the result of a football game. the opponent, the other team, injuries, referees, the field surface. Those are all things you can't control. And so if you get too caught up on worrying about what the result is instead of worrying about what your input is and what you're doing day to day, then I think you can fall into some of those traps of, feeling pressure or, external expectations. So we're, and this is no different. John and Jeff are the same way. Worry about where your 2 feet are and controlling what you can control. And I know that's a big part of who I am and how I really live life is controlling your controllables, be where your feet are, and then let's see where the results go. Of course our goal is to be in the national championship. Of course our goal is to win the national championship. But that almost has to be separate from what your mission is. And, our mission here has always been developing champions on and off the field, making All-American husbands, fathers, and teammates. And that's never going to change as long as I'm the head coach. And that's how it was with John. That's how it was with Jeff. That's what I've learned the last 18 years. And that's truly what I believe in, having a holistic approach to coaching and, getting to know these young men, getting to know their lives, feeding into their lives and who they are as people, not just athletes. That will get you the results that you want. And so I think, no, I don't necessarily feel pressure to do that. Certainly people will ask that and maybe other people see it that way. Jeff's a great coach. He got us to new levels. Nobody can dispute that. He's going to do a great job at Western Michigan. I have zero doubt about that. And we're just, trying to do our thing here and, keep building on this tradition, and keep taking, more and more steps so that we can be, in 20 years mentioned with, the Whitewaters and the Mount Unions, Mary Harn Baylors. They all have history on us. And so for us to not point that out or admit that would be foolish. They have more history than we do, and we're trying to get there. And I think you do that by focusing one day at a time, each practice at a time, each workout at a time, not getting too concerned with way down the road things. Right now we need to prepare to beat Wabash.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think the only thing I would add, Coach, is to the list of goals is that sometime in December in Annapolis, you want to see a guy in a sparkly jacket walking along the sideline with a microphone in his hand. If you see that guy at that time, you know that you did something right and that you're in the right place. So hopefully there'll be another spotting of Sparkle Man. As the proverbial newer kids, establishing history as championship program here in Division III, we would like to invite both Luke and you, Coach, being the new guy, 20 years in the making here. It's the first time as a new head coach, a chance to give any shout outs to any family, friends, anyone you'd like to say hello to before we wrap things up here. And thanks again for joining us for our preseason special.
Yeah, we're hoping to see Frank on our sideline too. We saw him last year, but we didn't get to talk to him afterwards. So, as you said at the opening, there's still some unfinished business and some opportunities out there that we'd like to, take advantage of, this year on the East Coast, hopefully.
I guess I'll shout out my family, my mom, my dad, and my 3 siblings that have always supported me, Sydney, Caitlin, and Blake. I want to shout out all the 5th years on the team for coming back. This year is definitely for them. Everybody's playing for them. They paused their lives to come back, so definitely shout out them and shout out the coaching staff. Shout out Coach Spence. Hope to hoist that trophy for him his first year. And then I'll give a shout out to our athletic training staff and Lauren Paulsgrove, our head AT for football, and all the work that they do keeping us healthy.
So heading into the interview, I talked about that pressure question, and
that
you and
was a great response by both guys. I mean, Luke especially, because he's the 19 or 20-something-year-old young man there. I was blown away by that, and that's exactly the right attitude to have, and that's probably why this team is going to once again be in the top 1, 2, or 3 teams in the nation, and will be expected to compete for a national championship.
They don't have an easy schedule. Wabash will be no pushover for them. Obviously, Wheaton is right in the first 4 games as well, right at the beginning of October.
5 or something like that, yeah.
Right at the top of October. I think October 1st or something like that.
Conference play, yep.
But you got to understand that this team, in terms of unfinished business, they're serious about this. Luke looks like he put on a good 10, 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason.
Looks big, yeah.
Yeah, and we were joking, the Dakota Crayman's interview from Stag Bowl. Remember, he talked about how felt he looked so small compared to those Mount Union guys on TV sometimes. Well, maybe he took it to heart because he definitely has beefed up.
He has hit the weight room for sure.
Yep, and so they are not kind of just licking their wounds over there. They're kind of salivating at the next season coming up. Starting a little late for them compared to other teams, but I will pick, and you will pick, North Central to win the CCIW. I picked Wheaton as a team to watch still. Even if they lose that game, I think they are still primed for a playoff slot, especially if they win their week 1 game against who?
Trinity?
That's it.
Well, it's technically in week 2, I think.
Is it? Okay, well.
So it threw me off, a little curveball there. But JB comes through with the hit.
Good point. This is why we got to get the schedule sheet out here. But no, it's an early season prime matchup. If they can win that game,
huge game.
I mean, it starts to set you up for a game like the North Central game if you're Wheaton. You picked Augustana as a team to watch. Okay, floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, the Augies are just, I think, from a combination of their social media, kind of seeing who they're bringing back. It's an experienced team, especially on the offensive, defensive lines. They went 5-5 last year, I believe. I think this is a team that's going to take the next step. They may not, win the championship, but I feel like they could maybe have some wins along the way. 8-2, maybe 7-3. Maybe we'll see them in the what is that? The new bowl. We got to get the name on that one. I just realized that we got to remember that. It's like,
we'll find it during the next interview, actually, outside. Instead of stopping tape, we'll power through this. But no, you picked Augustana's team to watch. I picked Wheaton. Both, I think, good choices. It's just a question of, with that schedule Wheaton has, does it push them down the loss column a little more than normal? And Augustana maybe gets the game against it. We'll see how that works out. And finally, ARC in Region 5 Central, Blaine Hawkins, the quarterback, has graduated off, the Gallardi Trophy winner.
Not Haskins.
Correct. But I'll tell you one thing. I was thinking the other day about the memories of, announcing him as the winner and the video that we had of everything. And it was just a special moment. And hopefully we get to actually do it in person again this year when we're in Annapolis for the Stag Bowl this go around. We'll see what happens. But I'm still picking Central. I think they have the crux of a really good team still, even without Blaine.
Talent,
And I picked Wartburg as the team to watch. A team that's kind of faded off a little bit in some people's estimations, but I think they're going to be back. The one thing you learn about D3, even after COVID, is that teams that have faded off a little bit seem to always stick around in the long run. So when you see a name disappear from the forefront for a little while, don't be shocked when they come back. Wartburg's that team for me that they might be knocking on that door and seeing who's going to be calling around playoff time.
Yeah, well, I know one guy named Logan Hansen is going to like that pick.
Hey, Logan. You pick Co and Dubuque in that order.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see in Co that you like so much?
I just think that they were pretty close last season. I think this could be a situation where they take that next step. Once again, we have sort of an unprecedented time of a lot of fifth-year seniors coming back and trying to make that next step. This could be a conference where that happens. Dubuque is a little further down on the pecking order, but I also feel like they could potentially surprise some teams along the way. We'll have to wait and see.
It's the Cousin Subs Lakefront Bowl.
I knew it was like a sandwich or something. I was like, the Sandwich Bowl.
Yeah, the Sandwich Bowl. Sounds like something we'd order in New York City.
Yeah.
The Sandwich Bowl to go.
Yeah, totally.
No, the Cousin Subs Lakefront Bowl is the bowl game that you were looking for. It's going to pit the runners-up from the MWC and the NACC on November 19th, 2022. Coming from the same folks that brought you the Culver's Isthmus Bowl.
Yep.
Easy for me to say, not so much.
I feel like we're doing this is like crunch time with our highlights. We should, It's like touchdown passes. Can there's that little jam in the background.
Hey, if I'm doing promos right now, I should say that. Hey, when I came here to New York City today, I got to see my barber for 14 years. Even though I don't live here anymore, I still
very
come.
Nice.
Yep, and I'm going to show
high and tight.
Mikey Dynamite, his nickname, down at Wise Guys Barbershop. So some of our viewers from New York City, 14th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue. They do great work there. Benny and Junior, Mikey Dynamite, whatever you want to call them, in company are all top notch. So appreciate them for doing hair and makeup today, except without the makeup. Yeah, for 46 and 40 something years old, 48. We're not doing too bad here. We don't need makeup quite yet.
Not yet.
Maybe we should. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Region 6 here, now that comic relief and promos are over. And the Mayak, I believe, is the correct pronunciation of this one.
Mayak?
I think it's the
Mayak.
We'll talk about that in a sec.
Yeah.
St. John's won it last year. And, boy, I'll tell you, it's a tough one, but I still pick St. John's to win it. But Bethel is the team to watch. Rosti is a great quarterback. Sounds like he's put on some weight, according to Coach Johnson, this offseason. You do pick Bethel, though, and Augsburg as the team to watch. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't think St. John's will finish second or not finish second. It means that this is a team that might outperform ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, and St. John's has got that, that opener. I think it's Whitewater in week 1. I mean, they have a really tough out of conference schedule. Their in conference schedule is tough as it is. They barely won their conference last season, and so I don't know. It just feels like maybe Bethel, second chance, they might get the job done. Augsburg, I think maybe it's just like an Augie thing. I just like Aug, like if a team's got an Aug in it, I'm like, okay, they sound great. Let's go.
We better talk loud enough because there's music that will give us a DMCA notice
absolutely.
in Facebook.
Yeah.
So we'll try to keep talking loud and say in the Skyak, Redlands had won in 2021, and I will pick and you will pick Redlands, and the team to watch, I will pick and you will pick Cal Lutheran. This is a rare double agreement by us, as you pointed out earlier, and I just don't see who's going to step up in that conference to really dethrone them right now.
Yeah, it seems like after that great run and great team that Chapman had in like 2019 that they kind of took a little dip. I mean, COVID really crushed the West Coast pretty bad. I mean, those guys really didn't have a chance to really do anything for a couple of years there. So I think they're catching up. We'll see what happens.
In the UMAC, Greenville wins last year, but it just seems like such a jumble in that conference. They had a little bit of COVID effect as well during last season. So I'm picking Martin Luther to win it and Minnesota Morris as the team to watch. You pick Greenville to repeat, though, and Minnesota Morris as the team to watch. We don't have enough info to give you a lot of in-depth on this conference. Hopefully we'll get some guests from the UMAC this season. We have not had that happen as of yet. But we have featured some games in our crunch time.
Blitzers and whatnot,
So, this is a conference that is seen as one of the weaker conferences in the entire D3. But, hey, they still get a playoff spot. And, they could give somebody a fit if they have enough momentum going into the playoffs at some point. In the Northwest Conference, the NWC, Linfield, we've got some friends out in the Linfield land there that are looking forward to who we're picking here. And I will say they will repeat, despite the graduation of White Smith and everything else going on. I believe that they still have the crux and the power out there to win it. So Linfield and Whitworth, still the team to watch. They were kind of a team to watch for us last year. Had a disappointing ending of the season. This go around, I think they will still stay up there, but I think they lose to Linfield, and probably that decides the conference. You pick Linfield and Pacific. Why Pacific?
I think it was a combination of factors, but Pacific had, they kind of had a 500 spring season. The fall, they won some games. They lost some games maybe they could have won. Once again, so my picks are really more on like the dark horse, like who, maybe finished under 500 that could break 500 this season. Feels like Pacific might be one of those teams.
And last but not least, in the WEAC, and yes, I did say WEAC.
Why?
No, we.
Okay.
As in you and I, we. But not why.
Okay.
Why ask why? Okay, we're done with that now. You'll see why we're doing that. I mean, we are doing whatever. That is because we have from Oshkosh, a team that really exemplifies that need for second chance and unfinished business here, we feel. Peter Jennings, their head coach, and defensive back Kyle Scharenbroch, they joined us and talked about Coach Jennings, now a new head coach himself here, and what he's going to bring to the table or what he's expecting from his team. And Kyle, who's kind of an old standard bearer for his team, about the leadership he and others will be providing this season. Coach and Kyle, thanks for joining us. And, unfinished business, second chances, that's kind of our theme of our preseason shows. And Kyle, for your senior class especially, it seems like unfinished business is true here, because the deepest run that your class has had was to the first round of the playoffs, which is kind of, based on the last decade or so of Titans history, a little bit short of what's the expectation now that the program has really come up over the last decade plus. How does it feel here going into the senior season? Is there unfinished business for your senior class especially?
Definitely. I would definitely say so. Like you said, it's not really where we wanted to be for our class. My senior year, the team went to the national championship. My freshman year, they went to the semifinals. So we obviously have that expectation to hold up where they were in the past, and making it to the first round is not where we want to be. But this year, definitely have a lot of work to put in. Definitely had a lot of high expectations for the team and for the players, and a lot of guys came back for that reason. We just want to make a run and do it for the guys that are younger than us, set the example, set the bar, set the standard, and set the foundation for years to come to get the program back on the right track.
Coach, you're obviously no stranger to the WIAC, arguably the best conference in the country, although some people call it the WIAC, and maybe you can answer that on another show. But I know I crashed one of your Twitter spaces, kind of talk when you were just getting introduced, and tell us a little bit about how it's been for you, getting your staff and program, your version of the Titans program up and running over the summer.
Yeah, I actually was just talking to our wide receivers coach a few minutes ago and just saying how, every month that I've been a head coach, it starts to become a little bit easier. You feel like you have better ground, or better footing on what you're trying to do. We've had a decent amount of staff turnover with Coach Vinay taking the head coaching job at UW-Stevens Point and taking a couple guys with him. We've been able to hire some phenomenal coaches, some great football minds, some great leaders, and really excited about how they've been interacting with our players throughout fall camp and the product that we've put on the field for fall camp, truly. And, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but I'm going down that rabbit hole. You always worry, can your vision be put into action? And our guys, our coaching staff, through the first 12 days of fall camp, it's been phenomenal. We had 2 joint practices. We split the squad and had a joint practice on Friday with the program up here, and then on Saturday took the other half and had another joint practice. And just, we were so clean. And I'm not saying we executed every play perfectly or anything like that, but we didn't have substitution errors. We didn't have delay games. We didn't have, we only had a couple of false starts. And those are the things that, as a new head coach and a new staff with a new group of guys, you just worry about. And I take a lot of pride in putting a clean product on the field when I was a coordinator, and I'm taking a lot of pride in putting a clean product on the field as a head coach. And our staff has bought in, and our players obviously are executing that at a very high level. Take that back a little bit. I'm no stranger to the WIAC, and I don't know why I call it the WIAC, but I call it the WIAC. And I appreciate that you have a lot of listeners across the country, and you don't want to say it's the best conference in the country, but I will say that it's the best conference in the country. Sorry to the CCIW and the ASC. Facts are facts. And yeah, we've got, we talk about playoffs, we talk about deep runs. If you win the WIAC, you can do just about anything. We saw that in 19. You've seen it a number of years, right? That in 18 and in 19, and then in 16 that we tied for the championship and made the semifinal run. I'm still boning up on all my deep Titan playoff runs, but if you do well in the WIAC, you can win a lot of football games in the postseason, and that's where our focus is. is making sure that we're putting the best product on the field day in, day out. So the accumulation of growth really comes to fruition once we hit conference and hopefully throughout the conference season.
Okay, but now I've got I guess, question of questions that I'm going to get in trouble for when I ask it here, but here we go. Coach, you were with Wisconsin Whitewater last year. That was the team to first beat, I believe, or a second beat in a little chunk at the beginning of the season there, Oshkosh. And so one would think that you might know a little bit about, A, the deficiencies at Oshkosh, and B, what you can do to overcome them. Now, when it comes to that game, especially in the season, I mean, do you feel like you can turn around the fortunes? Do you know the right playbook here, ultimately, to beat Wisconsin Whitewater when you face them in this season?
Yeah, you're opening up Pandora's box there, Frank. That there's a shot that game has a ton of meaning, a ton of national implications, right? There's also a shot because of the non-conference schedule both teams play that game doesn't have as much meaning, right? I mean, because of who we are in each program is. I mean, you're playing heavy hitter after heavy hitter at non-conference, and that's the truth for most of the WEAC, but especially when you talk about Whitewater and Oshkosh. Scouting Oshkosh for 3 years, and then having the COVID year where all you did is watch film in the WEAC because we weren't able to play any games. I had a very good idea of what I was getting myself into taking on the head coaching job here, not just schematically what we do well offensively and defensively and special teams, but then also personnel, right? Like I knew Kyle in and out, right? Not as a person, but as a player, right? I knew Kobe Berghammer, our quarterback, in and out. Tori Jandren, our starting Mike, right? I knew these guys. I knew who they were. I knew how they could play. I didn't know them personally, but obviously I knew we had a ton of talent here. I spent a lot of time trying to crack the Pat Cerrone and Craig Stenbrotten defensive code, and I was on the other side of the ball of Rob Erickson and Jace Rindle trying to crack the Luke Vinay code. And so I think I had a pretty good idea what the deficiencies are here. I also practiced against those guys and practiced with the guys down at Whitewater for 4 years. So I think I have a pretty good idea of things that cause them issues. Now, you and I both know I can drop the best play, and if we're playing against Alabama, it won't matter. And if somebody can have the best game plan against UW-Oshkosh, and if they're just outmanned, it's not going to matter. So it does come to that. But I think that when we talk about talent, we got a heck of a lot of talent up here in the Fox Valley. And we got a lot of talent on campus right now, and it's showing in fall camp. So I'm really excited to see those guys get turned loose September 3rd.
Yeah. Kyle, this is normally a question that you would ask a coach, but it would be great to get a player perspective. You've got some new teams on your schedule. It's not always easy for WEAC teams to schedule games, but you've got one from Texas coming up to play you guys, and you're going to be traveling down south to Mississippi to play Millsaps, which, I mean, last season you had like that 2 or 3 – it was almost like a 2 or 3 week bye in between game 2 and 3. Is the team feel like it's going to be an easier road for them to know that you got 10 games, one bye week, you're not going to be sitting idle for an extended period of time?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely love the range of competition we're able to get. I never realized how hard it was for us to find non-conference games until this last year, where it took us forever to find that third game, but I guess teams just don't want to play us, which is understandable. But no, I love the range of competition. Like you said, you can get a team up from Texas and then going down to Millsaps. It's just different competition, different schemes, different personnels that you might not see up here in the WEAC, but I love it. And to address the 2-week delay that we had, or 2-week bye that we had last year, I definitely think that we could have done without, because it was just maybe a little too much time to sit around, and we might have over game planned a little for some of opponents. So being able to just stay in the flow, stay in the rhythm of the season, and get that 3rd and 10th game, I think it's going to be a lot better for us as a team.
One other quick one, Frank, just and maybe for Coach Jennings, was it your call, or was it the ADs? I mean, the Whitewater game we were just talking about is going to be a Friday night game, and when was the last time these two programs had a Friday night lights type of matchup? That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's great, games. It's just fantastic. No. Friday nights for high school football. We should be playing on a Saturday. It's the state band competition for Wisconsin is held on that weekend, and so every 4 years or every other year, Whitewater will host a home game on that weekend, and it has to be moved to Friday. That's written into the conference bylaws. I don't know why you can't just exchange that weekend with a home game from another team. When I was at Whitewater, I thought it was I didn't love it. Now that I'm here, I don't love it. It could be an awesome environment, but I don't want to take away from high school football. High school football is so special, and it's almost got a romantic feel to it. The pageantry and everything that comes with small schools, and especially in Whitewater in that area, it's not a huge area, right? So if we're playing on a Friday night now, how many people are going to be at Milton? How many people are going to be at Fort Atkinson? How many people are going to be at Whitewater? And I don't love that. We have a saying up here: spot the damn ball, and you know what? On Friday night, spot the damn ball, and we'll get after it. But I'd much rather be playing that at 1:00 on a sunny Saturday, with southeast winds at 17 miles an hour, because that's all you get at Perkins Stadium.
I love the Wisconsin teams and the guests we have on for the utter candor we get all the time. They never hold back the truth. Cerrone was no different back when. I've talked to him on D3Football.com side, and all the coaches at Whitewater along the way, Lance Leipold especially. You always get a direct and true answer, that's for sure. Kyle, here's one for you though. Since you started at Oshkosh, it seems like the WEAC, I'll adopt it at least for now with you guys, has really turned into a much closer conference in the top half of it. And the top half that's formed seems to be Whitewater, Oshkosh, Platteville, La Crosse, and River Falls now kind of joining the fray. What do you lend that to? Is that Whitewater and Oshkosh maybe coming down from the high heavens a little bit, which I don't think would be true based on the fact that I know what the playoffs looked like last year with Whitewater in it and who they almost beat ultimately, or at least had a decent chance to beat in the semis? Or is this really the rest of the teams being able to somehow, I don't know where they grow them in Wisconsin, but get better and better recruits because they're upping their game trying to reach those Whitewater and Oshkosh heights now?
Yeah, I definitely think it's an improvement of talent across the board. I think every team in the WEAC has uber amounts of talent, and I think that shows in postseason and non-conference games where you see River Falls win the first Culver's Isthmus Bowl last year. You see La Crosse and Whitewater make deep runs in the playoffs. And then I think even us at Oshkosh being the 4th seed, I think we could have made a run last year just with the talent we had. And then you see teams like Stout who have a very talented offense, one of the most high-powered offenses in the country, and they don't even make the playoffs. So I think it's just there's not a lack of talent up here in the northern states, and I think that really shows when you see these games where we play other teams from across the country. And I think we're just going to keep getting better with more coaching staffs and better recruiting. I think the talent's just going to keep going up, and every Saturday in the WEAC, anyone can win any game. So it's always a dogfight.
I just want to follow up a little bit with you and talk a little X's and O's here because we are getting close to kickoff time. You are a very good safety. I think you had one of your best games in terms of tackle total at the end of last season. And for you personally on defense, how is that maturation of the secondary coming along? I mean, who did you lose? Who did you retain? Who did you gain this season that we should be looking out for, especially in the secondary of that defensive backfield?
Definitely. Well, definitely on the safety side, Carson Raditz coming back, 2-time WEAC Player of the Week from last year, an honorable mention safety. One of my brothers, one of the best safeties, I think, in the WEAC as well. Very talented guy. And then we have Eli Trinnell, who when we run our 3 safety sets will most likely come in at that 3rd safety. Another guy with a good amount of experience and just a good head on his shoulders and great player all around. And I think one of the most underrated players in the WEAC right now is Jared Sod, our boundary corner. He's done a great job locking up that boundary side these last 2 years, and this year's not going to be any different. one spot that I would say is a toss-up right now is our field corner. Obviously, we lost our 3-year starter in Colin Byer last year. A great leader, great player, and right now it's a battle for that spot. And I think whoever wins it is going to be solid.
I agree.
I guess you guys can always play it safe and do the one game at a time, but I figured I would just throw out the obligatory, where have you guys sort of set your expectations for for the season? When you kind of look back on it, when it's all said and done, what do you hope you'll have accomplished?
I can take it. So we have our team model right now. It's 12, and we have that because right now the biggest thing on our mind is that 12th conference title. Whether or not we get that this year, obviously would be great, but we want to set the foundation to get to that 12th conference title at some point, and that's what we're working towards. I think last year, with the talent and the guys that we had our sights set too high. We had national championship on our mind, and we had big dreams, and we kind of lost sight of that going through the season where we lost a couple games and we weren't focusing week to week. I think we're going to really take a step back, and with the new coaching staff and everything, I think it was kind of like a fresh start where we can now just focus week to week and win one game at a time and be 1-0 every week.
I love the idea there. He basically said, Coach, I got this one. That's senior leadership for you right there. It makes it easier on you, right, Coach? Come on.
That's exactly right. We have a phenomenal group of leaders here. I mean, really, like I get goosebumps talking about it, and they've helped make this transition so much easier than it would have had to be, or than it could have been. I mean, there's a strong culture here and a strong foundation that was built by Coach Cerrone and all the past coaches and players. And Kyle and his group have done a phenomenal job of welcoming me with open arms and really taking the reins on a lot of different tasks that would have given me many more gray hairs a lot earlier if I didn't have them. So I'm very appreciative of that. So yeah, I'm glad he stepped up and took that because he said it better than I would have.
Well, he's got something else he's going to go first on here because normally we reserve this for player guests, but Coach, since you're a new kid on the block, at least in this role, we're going to give you an opportunity for it as well. Any shout-outs for any family, friends, teammates, etc. that might be watching? Kyle, you go first. Coach, you go second. The floor is yours for shout-outs.
Shout-outs? I'd love to give a shout-out to Cam Brown, Turf Shredders, my trainer, one of my guys that's been training me since my freshman year, helped turn me into the guy I am today. Jeff over at Jet Functional Fitness in Oshkosh, another great organization. And then just my family who's been by my side the entire time, been a really big support in my journey through college football, and my friends who have supported me, my teammates and my brothers who have never shied away from showing me that they have confidence in me and telling me how much of a leader I am to them. So great group of guys.
Nice. Yeah, I'd have to say that I got to give a shout out to my family, my wife, my kids. We're lucky that this great program was only 90 miles north, so it wasn't a drastic region change. And it really, this area fits our lifestyle, so my kids have adapted really well. But it's tough to take an 8 and 9-year-old away from their friends, and they had a really good niche in their school and their youth sports and everything they did. So for them to be so open-minded and say, "Hey, Dad, you've always wanted to be a head coach. Like, let's go." They made it easy, and my wife being open to continuing to chase my dreams of being a head coach and being a head coach at a place where you can compete nationally. That's phenomenal. And then I wouldn't have been able to make it on what I was getting paid early in my career if I didn't have a great set of parents and a great set of in-laws that when we needed groceries, we had groceries. And I can't say thank you enough to my mom and dad, Rose and Henry, and my father-in-law and mother-in-law, Craig and Linda Nelson. They've helped make this dream a reality. And now I'm just living my best life. I go home every night. It's later in hell. I go home every night and tell Kim I just had the best day I've ever had, and that's in a large part, huge part to the support my family's been giving me. Now I go home and tell my wife I just had the greatest day ever. It was even better than yesterday, and she's like, "Well, I had the kids all day," because she works from home. She's like, maybe keep your excitement down a little bit. It's 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moms are the real MVPs, man.
Amen to that. Amen to that. There's a soccer practice and a football practice she's got to get my 2 to tonight. And I don't know how she's going to do it, but she'll find a way.
Well, no reason to ask why at this point.
No, it's all we, and we are on board, Coach.
But who do we pick to win the conference?
Oh, well, I think the river always runs through Whitewater.
Wow.
Ba-doom.
Indeed, we do match on this one in its entirety. Whitewater is both of our picks to win the conference overall.
You know what's pretty funny, Frank? I don't know. So we have the benefit of doing this episode after a lot of the preseason polls came out, and we did these picks before that. But the thing I thought was funny about the WEAC was that their preseason poll was exactly what the 2001 standings were. It's like just a copy and paste. 2021, right. Yeah, good catch.
They might be the same as the 2001 also, though, for all
Maybe,
we know. We
yeah,
got to go back and look
yeah.
now. But UWO is our team to watch. Was that the case in theirs, or was it lacrosse there? I can't remember.
I think it was lacrosse. I mean, they obviously had a pretty breakthrough season.
Yep.
They went toe to toe.
River Falls up there too.
Yeah, River Falls
Yep.
went and won the first Isthmus Bowl. I mean, but UWO is a team that's not that far removed from playing in a Stag Bowl. Finished 4th place last year. New head coach, new system, new program. Guy came over from Whitewater. He knows what the secret sauce is. It may not happen this year, but I think we can start thinking to look at the Titans as one of the top contenders in the WEAC for many years to come.
I remember 2016, an occasion where we had 2 noobs basically in that Stag Bowl.
Yep.
Mary Hardin Baylor. We're not really supposed to talk about that one according to the NCA, but whatever.
It happened.
And
Sorry.
UWO played them, and it was a good game.
Yep.
But Mary Hardin Baylor won it, at least on the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 years removed, 5 seasons removed technically, it's not that long ago.
No.
And now with Pat Cerrone kind of gone for various reasons there, having Coach Jennings there, like you said, having that experience from Whitewater, that's a game changer, I think, a little bit for them.
Absolutely.
I expect them to be back with a vengeance, if not this year, over the next 2 to 3 years, indeed.
Yep.
So, okay, again, we're going to have some content coming up for the rest of the weekend, or week to weekend, basically, so stay tuned for that. But final thoughts here about the preseason, the lead up to 2022's kickoff, JB. A lot of excitement from our shows so far and everything that we've been posting on Twitter and whatnot. I think we're starved for some COVID-free football to the degree we can do it.
Yeah, and the thing that's great, at least, I think overall, nationally, there's some fantastic inter-regional games that are happening in week 1 and week 2, and even into week 3, I think, technically. So we're going to see some stuff that we haven't really gotten to see in a long time. How it'll impact the playoff runs, 11 weeks later is TBD, but there's going to be some fantastic games to watch. And the beauty about D3, pretty much all online. As long as you got a computer, you can point and click, you're good to go.
Might help you point and click on Thursday. Regardless, we are going to be all over the map this season again. Might see this guy joining me once or twice this year. We'll see what happens with that as well.
That'd be awesome, yeah.
It would be, but stay tuned, folks. And thanks for joining us on all of our preseason specials. Let's start the 2022 season tomorrow. If you're watching us on Wednesday, we will have kickoffs in different regions throughout the country, Friday as well, and then Saturday, the big crux of games. Get ready for the armchair watching of a lot of games in D3. We'll see you then.